I found my wife's obituary online, but the weird thing is, she's sitting right next to me. So one thing about me is that I'm chronically online. I Google lots of things and even people when I'm bored. I've Googled my own name, along with friends, acquaintances, conspiracy theories, you name it. But last night was the first time I've ever Googled my wife's name, and I found something that I'll never forget. The very first thing that popped up when I Googled her name was an obituary. Of course, I just assumed it was someone with the same name as her. Her first name is Emily and her last name is pretty common, but I clicked it anyways just out of curiosity. My heart completely sank when I saw a photo of my wife on the website. Blonde highlighted hair, dark eyes, and the dates matched up too, 1986 to 2012. According to this obituary, she died when she was 26. I met her when she was 27. There's no way, I thought. This must just be someone who looks like her, with her name and her birth year. I quickly realized that this was just too many coincidences to be wrong. And when I read the actual obituary, it only submitted things for me. It mentioned her love of horses, her volunteer work at a soup kitchen through her church, and even her work as a biologist postdoc. As I was finishing reading it, my wife entered the room and asked, "What you looking at?" I jumped as she came in from the kitchen and sat down next to me. On instinct, I slammed my laptop shut. "Nothing," I said, then realizing how suspicious this looked, I just said I was looking for birthday gifts for you. For a slight second, her face froze, and I was worried she wouldn't buy my lie. But then she smiled, that warm smile I love so much, and said, "That's so sweet coming to sit next to me." I swallowed and said, "Yeah, I'm going to bed. I don't feel so good." Okay," she said, pouting, but before she could say anything more, I ran upstairs. I started to dig deeper, but then that's when I found something that made my heart stop. A news article nestled at the bottom of the search results page. Emily hadn't just died, she'd been murdered. My jaw hung open as I read the news article. Phrases popped out at me. No signs of forced entry, partially dismembered, and killer still at large. This just couldn't be my Emily, not the one sitting downstairs on my couch. That's when a sound jolted me out of my thoughts. The door to the bedroom, creaking open. Emily stood in the doorway, oddly still. The hall light was off, shrouding her face in shadow. "Emily?" I asked, my voice shaking. "I came up to check on you," she said in a soft, cool voice. Thanks, I said, quickly turning off my phone and slipping it behind me. "I'm feeling a lot better now. I'm fine." "I'm glad to hear that," she said, her voice going lower. I tried to keep my cool as she climbed into bed with me. I laid there, stiff and cold, as she wrapped her arms around me. "I love you, baby," she whispered as she cuddled with me under the covers. "I love you too." So that's where I am now. I'm writing this from my phone, as Emily sleeps right next to me. I don't know if I'm safe here. I don't know who or what I'm dealing with. All kinds of crazy scenarios have been floating through my mind. Did Emily have an identical twin that died? And she took over that twin's identity? Is she some horrible creature from folktales who killed Emily and took on her appearance? The more minutes that tick by, the wilder my theories get. None of them make sense. There's only one thing I'm sure of. Whoever or whatever I'm sleeping next to isn't the real Emily. I found my missing brother on a form for the dead. Ryan had been missing for 2 years. One day, he went out to grab coffee and just never came back. No suspicious activity on his bank account. No weird phone calls. No signs of struggle. Just gone. The police had said he'd likely been abducted, but without any evidence, they couldn't do much. My family completely fell apart. My mom stopped eating, my dad stopped talking, and I just stopped feeling altogether. Late one night, while spiraling through forums about unsolved disappearances, I stumbled upon a thread titled "Messages from Beyond, Connecting with the Lost." It was buried deep within an obscure corner of the internet, and full of people claiming to receive messages from the dead. It sounded ridiculous, but one comment caught my attention. A user named Echoing Void posted, "Sometimes the missing don't know they're gone. Sometimes they're here, looking for home." For whatever reason, grief, desperation, or just lack of sleep, I created an account and decided to message Void. I typed, "If you're really one of the missing, prove it." The response came within minutes. "What do you want me to prove? That you once broke Ryan's nose during a stupid fight over a game of Mario Kart? That he forgave you before you even forgave yourself?" My stomach immediately dropped. Nobody knew about that, not even our parents. I asked, "Who are you?" Void's reply, "I think you know." The next few weeks were a blur. I spent hours every night talking to Void. He said the world he was in was a fractured reflection of ours. The sky was always gray, the streets abandoned, the air heavy with silence. He couldn't explain how he got there, only that he woke up in this place and couldn't leave. The more we talked, the more he sounded like Ryan. He remembered details no one else could. One night, Void said something that terrified me. He typed, "They're watching me now. They don't like that I'm talking to you." I asked who they were, but his responses were just cryptic, and that was the last I heard from him for weeks. Then, a new message suddenly appeared in my inbox. "Do you want to see me?" Attached was a link to a live video feed. The stream showed a dimly lit street that looked eerily like the one Ryan and I grew up on. The houses were distorted, their shapes wavering as if viewed through heat haze. In the distance, a figure walked toward the camera. As they drew closer, I recognized his face. It was Ryan. But something was off. His eyes were too wide, his movements stiff, like a puppet on strings. He smiled at the camera, but it wasn't the smile I remembered. It was forced, unnatural. He raised a hand and waved. In the live chat beside the video, he typed, "It's me. I told you I was here." I couldn't move. My heart felt like it was trying to escape my chest. Suddenly, the camera shook violently. The shadows behind Ryan began to shift and ripple, forming towering figures with jagged edges. They moved closer, the distorted limbs reaching for him. Ryan typed, "They're coming. You have to help me. Find the door." Then the feed cut out. I spent the next few days piecing together everything he'd said about his world, looking for clues about this door. It wasn't much, but he'd mentioned a specific place from our childhood, an old, abandoned cabin in the woods where we used to play. I drove there, half expecting nothing. The cabin was just as we'd left it, rotting and overgrown. Inside, I found a trapdoor beneath a threadbare rug. The ladder below led to a tunnel that stretched on for what felt like miles. At the end was a heavy iron door with strange carvings all over it. As I touched the door, my phone buzzed. A message from Void. "They know you're here. Don't let them in." Before I could even reply, the shadows began to seep through the walls, crawling towards me like living tar. I shoved the door open and stepped through. I don't know how to explain what happened next. One moment, I was in the tunnel. The next, I was standing in the gray, empty world Ryan had described. The air was heavy, and the silence was deafening. And there he was, standing just a few feet away, staring at me with wide, desperate eyes. "Ryan?" I whispered. But then, before he could even respond, the shadows surged forward. The last thing I remember is his scream. I woke up in my bed the next morning, clutching a piece of paper I'd never seen before. Written on it, in Ryan's handwriting, were the words, "Don't stop looking. There's another door." I thought my wife was losing her mind, until I realized it was me all this time. The first time I noticed something was off, it was her laughter. Not the joyful kind. Low, halting, like something breaking apart. I'd hear it late at night, always coming from the living room. When I asked her about it, she'd shrug and say she hadn't laughed at all. "Stress, maybe?" she offered. "You've been working so much lately." She wasn't wrong. I'd been pushing myself hard at the firm, burning through 12-hour days casually. But it wasn't just the laughter. Small things started piling up. Missing books, rearranged furniture, lights left on when I knew I'd turn them off. "Are you reorganizing the house?" I asked one evening after noticing our bookshelf looked different. "I haven't touched anything," she replied, a flicker of something in her voice. Fear? Guilt? I just brushed it off. The tipping point came last Tuesday. I woke up at 2:47 a.m. to the sound of scratching. My wife wasn't in bed. I found her in the basement, crouched over the floor, carving something into the concrete with a screwdriver. "What the hell are you doing?" I demanded. She turned slowly, startled, like she hadn't even realized I was there. Her eyes were wide, red-rimmed, her hands trembling. I don't know," she whispered. I pulled her away and brought her back to bed, trying to convince myself it was sleepwalking or stress. But something about her face, the haunted look, like she was afraid of herself, just made my skin crawl. The next day, I searched the house while she was out, and that's when I found the tapes. 12 unmarked VHS tapes crammed into a shoebox in the attic. The first one I played made my stomach drop immediately. It was me, sitting at my desk, typing, eating dinner, sleeping. Hours of me, filmed from angles that didn't make sense. Inside my office, my car, our bedroom. On one tape, I was sitting on the couch, turning my head sharply as if I'd heard something. The camera panned to the doorway where my wife stood, holding the screwdriver from the basement. I confronted her that night. "Why are you recording me?" I shouted, holding up one of the tapes. Her face crumpled, tears spilling over. "Recording you? You've been following me. I found those tapes weeks ago." Her voice broke, and she fled the house before I could even respond. I stood there, dumbfounded. Following her? That was insane. But her words gnawed at me. I stayed up all night, pacing, until curiosity got the better of me. I played the last tape in the box. It was dated just the day before. On it, I watched myself sitting at the kitchen table, writing in a notebook I didn't even recognize. My handwriting filled the pages. I didn't even own that notebook. The most recent entry sent chills down my spine. She knows I know. I tore the house apart until I found that notebook, stuffed in a drawer beneath the sink. The pages were filled with logs of her movements. 7:30 a.m., leaves for work. 12:15 p.m., comes home for lunch. Doesn't see me watching? I couldn't remember any of it. My hands trembled as I flipped to the last page. Tomorrow, she'll leave. Don't stop her? The next morning, her side of the closet was empty. She was gone. She'd taken everything except a single piece of paper on the pillow. 4 words were scrawled across it in my handwriting. "Who is watching you?" I searched the house again. Every room, every drawer. Then I checked the tapes. All of them were blank. That night, I woke up to the sound of laughter from the living room. Low, halting. My laughter. My dead girlfriend keeps updating her social media, and she's talking about me. It all started with a notification. Emily just posted a new photo. My stomach dropped. Emily died 6 months ago. I clicked on it with shaking hands. It was a picture of my apartment, my bedroom window, taken from the street. The caption, "I see you." I nearly dropped my phone. This had to be a sick joke. Someone must have hacked her account. I called her parents, but they hadn't touched her profiles. Her phone had been buried with her. I quickly reported and blocked the account, but the post just kept coming through. A week later, another picture was posted. My car in the grocery store parking lot. "You forgot the milk." I couldn't breathe. I had forgotten the milk. I tried logging into her account myself, but her password had been changed. I contacted customer support, desperate for answers. They responded a day later saying, "This account was accessed from a device last used 6 months ago." She had been dead for 6 months. I didn't sleep that night at all. I locked my doors, closed my blinds, and ignored my phone. But at 3 a.m., a notification lit up my screen. Emily just went live. I shouldn't have clicked it, but I did. The screen was dark at first, then movement, a shaking, distorted view of something. Wooden walls and the soft earth pressing in at the edges. A low, rasping breath. Then her voice. "Let me out." I immediately slammed my phone down, my whole body shaking. The next morning, I drove to the cemetery. I don't even know what I was expecting, but her grave sat there, undisturbed. As I turned to leave, a new message popped up across my screen. "Almost there." Then, 3 more messages came up. "It's cold down here. Why are you leaving me?" And "He won't let me out." My heart immediately sank and I began to run. Was I talking to a spirit? A demon? A ghost? Who was I talking to? Then I heard a voice. "Please," she sobbed. "I don't want to be here anymore." Then I heard another voice, but this wasn't Emily. "Almost time." And then the stream cut off. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know the truth. I grabbed a shovel and drove back to the cemetery. The air was thick, pressing down on me like a weight. My hands trembled as I started digging. The deeper I went, the more I felt it. The wrongness, like something just beneath the surface was watching, waiting. Then my shovel hit wood. The coffin was there, but something was wrong. The wood was splintered, cracked from the inside like someone had been trying to claw their way out. My breath caught in my throat as I pried it open. It was empty. The phone in my pocket vibrated. I almost didn't want to look, but I did. Live now. Emily. The screen was pitch black, but I heard breathing, slow, ragged. Then a whisper was so close it felt like she was behind me. "He let me out." Something moved in the trees behind the grave. And then the live stream ended, and her social media account was never heard from again. I never should have stayed overnight in that mall. I'm not going to tell you my name. If you recognize the way I talk from my old videos, keep it to yourself. I don't want any more messages. I don't want any more theories. I just want to get this out, and then I'm done with social media for good. Back in 2017, I was a YouTuber. Not a huge one, but I pulled in good numbers. Hundreds of thousands of views, sometimes millions. If you were watching overnight challenges, urban exploration, or anything that involves sneaking into abandoned places, you might have seen my videos before. It was all fake. That's what I want you to believe. That's what I need you to believe. I was always pretty careful. I planned every video like a heist. Research, entry points, escape routes. But in May of 2017, I got cocky. I wanted something bigger, something that would go viral. 24 hours in an abandoned mall. It sounded perfect and like it could finally get me to the mainstream. That's when I found the Cove Plaza shopping mall. Closed in 2013, but mostly intact. No official security, just a few cameras that didn't even work. I brought my gear, a flashlight, night vision camera, some food, and a battery pack. I was ready. At least I thought I was. I got in through a service door and started recording immediately, trying to play up the whole creepy factor to get more views. And that's when I saw them. Mannequins. Not just a few, but hundreds. Stores that had been picked clean still had them. Naked, broken, posed in unnatural ways. Some with missing limbs and others vandalized. A few were arranged in groups, like they were all mid-conversation or something. I joked about it on camera, something about how this was the real mannequin challenge. I even moved a few, positioning them in weirder poses for later shots. But I shouldn't have ever touched them. By 2 a.m., I was settled in the food court. The air smelled stale, like old grease and mold. I was filming a menu which was still lit up when I heard footsteps. Not the echo of my own, but someone else's. I immediately killed the flash on my camera and just felt the silence. Then, a faint plastic scrape. I turned my camera towards the sound, slowly raising the brightness. But the mannequins had moved. Not a lot, just a few inches, but I knew where they'd been before. I checked the footage. One near the escalator had its arms at its side an hour ago. Now, the hand was reaching forward. This scared me and made me incredibly nervous, but I convinced myself it was nothing. Maybe I just bumped it earlier, so I went back to filming. But then, at 3:15 a.m., my camera instantly shut off. The battery was charged. It shouldn't have died, so I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. And that's when I noticed that the mannequins had moved even closer. The one by the escalator was now on the first step of the stairs. I don't remember getting up. I don't remember running. 1 second I was sitting, but the next I was at the other end of the food court, panting like I'd just sprinted a full mile. That's when I knew that I wasn't alone anymore. Something moved in my peripheral vision. A head turned. Plastic then slammed to the ground. I bolted. I didn't even look back. I didn't stop filming, not until I was outside, gasping for breath. My camera was still dead, but my phone had the footage. I never uploaded it. When I checked the files the next day, they were all corrupted. Every single one. The only thing that remained was a still frame from the food court, a blurry shot of me sitting on the floor, and something behind me. A mannequin, no head, no arms, just standing there. I never went back to the mall. I stopped making videos altogether. My channel died, but maybe that was for the best. I don't care if you believe me. Just don't go looking for Cove Pizza. They didn't like being watched.